Katy Perry continues to make the backlash worse, not just for herself, but also for everyone else that was on board of the Blue Origin space flight, such as those like Gayle King and Jeff Bezos' fiancé, and among others. We know at the same exact time, both before and after the Blue Origin flight, Katy Perry's ticket sales have been really just floundering. They've really been having a very hard time in specific US markets, and recently, ever since she doubled down on the damage control for the Blue Origin flight and really tried to water down the backlash, the ticket sales have been spiraling out of control, alright? And not in a good way, by the way. We already know that there's a lot of struggles right now going on with her Lifetimes tour, and they are witnessing that day in and day out. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So when you add up everything of what's going on right now with the Lifetimes tour in specific US markets that are dipping on a massive scale, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars, and how Katy Perry's reacting to that is just another sign of proof that she really just tried to use the Blue Origin spaceflight as a publicity stunt, and when it backfired, well, it just did not work out in the end. So what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Katy Perry herself and her overall behavior. Now we know that she is going to do whatever it takes to essentially connect her Lifetimes tour to the Blue Origin flight. We already know that she's already creating dance moves that will be inspired by her experience, as well as set designs that will also take inspiration from the Blue Origin spaceflight. And it just goes to show you that in the end, yes, this was a publicity stunt. As many times as she likes to deny that, it is exactly what it is. However, with the Katy Perry backlash and drama showing no sign of slowing down, the more she keeps doubling down on damage control, already her Lifetimes tour is suffering in specific US markets, with ticket sales that are not going anywhere and adding up to millions of dollars, lost in comparison to their previous projections for the Lifetimes tour. Now, Katy Perry recently delivered the following after learning about the impact that her spaceflight had on her career. I just feel that there are way too many critics in this country, especially when you do something so brave and courageous as I did with Blue Origin. That should have nothing to do with my career. I don't care what kind of criticism comes along with that, but that does not belong in my Lifetimes tour. They are both two separate paths I decided to take in my life. And if people feel the need to no longer support me, then I think it just proves that we need more healing in this world, especially in America, that holds many unhealed citizens. I think that when you take a very close look at the criticism that I have put up with, but not just me, but also everyone else that was on board with me in space, it is so blown out of proportion. What I find to be very appalling is we are being ridiculed for comparing ourselves to astronauts. Those are thoughts of my own that I do not regret, and I will stand by them through and through, because what we did up there in space, we dealt with the very same exact dangers and also the same exact mental training and physical training that it takes to become an astronaut to go up into space. So I have no regrets comparing myself to that. As such, if those critics who unfortunately were once supporters of mine don't feel the need to support the Lifetimes tour, then so be it, because we have some great surprises on the horizon coming in for this tour that will take inspiration from the courageous act that I did with Blue Origin. When you are a performer, it's very important that you find a way to innovate, and we are going to make this the most interactive tour for not just attendees, but also everyone else involved to make this experience possible. I think that we need to heal ourselves. Critics really need to take a closer look in the mirror and realize what they sound like. What we did on Blue Origin was nothing close to a publicity stunt, and elements of the Lifetimes tour taking inspiration from that flight does not lend to any proof of doing such like that. So guys, let me just stop right there for one moment. Alright, now, the thing about Katy Perry is that she's only making this worse, right? We already know that she's making this worse when she's comparing herself to an astronaut, or the exact scenarios that astronauts go through in actual space. When you're comparing yourself to something like that, yeah, you're just asking for trouble. That's exactly why she's not escaping this backlash, and that's exactly why her ticket sales are just spiraling out of control. They're just not gaining any kind of traction right now, in various US markets. And that's exactly why. A lot of younger audiences, quite frankly, don't even know who Katy Perry is at this point. You know, when you're looking at the new generation, and the generation that sort of grew up with Katy Perry, they are maturing. They're actually growing out of that phase of supporting Katy Perry. Again, I mean, when you realize it, you know, she's in her 40s now, she's had a very long run as a performer / singer, and based on the choreography, the most recent choreography footage that was either, you know, put out there or leaked on purpose, who knows, but it's out there. It is very cringeworthy. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it is very cringeworthy, even in comparison to Katy Perry's past performances over the course of, I would say, the past like 4 to 5 years. This is just beyond cringe. And I think that everything is on her mind right now when it comes to Blue Origin, to the point that it's just getting in the way of her career, and it's obviously taking a toll on her, I think. But this is where it gets interesting, is that she goes on to elaborate further. Sometimes as a performer, you have to take a leap of faith and do something incredible as a woman to advance yourself, and to see the negativity coming not just at me, but also the other fine women on board like Gayle King that deserve all the recognition in this world. We are going to do whatever it takes to make our tour the most successful one yet. But of course, we are facing challenges with that for obvious reasons, and those are just obstacles, as far as I see it, that I think I have to push myself through. I think everyone should really rethink their criticism, not just toward me, but toward all the women on board of that space flight that actually reshaped history. Again, it's those types of comments that keep putting you in a hole that you're not going to get yourself out of. You didn't really make history, you didn't reshape history or anything like that. Katy Perry just keeps repeating the same nonsense over and over, and it's seemingly now she's getting more defensive, right? Not just on social media, but also when she is promoting her Lifetimes tour, you know, either in the mainstream media or social media, wherever it may be, or on site. It's only making matters worse, and I think that you're going to see more examples of this, where she keeps doubling down on the damage control, keeps comparing herself to an astronaut. It's not going to work, and it's only going to make her come across as more insufferable to not just non-fans of hers, but also to her very own fans that are beginning to just cut loose at this point. They're beginning to just say, alright, enough of this nonsense. I'm not supporting you anymore. That's basically what's happening. So again, we know that her Lifetimes tour, it's going to stretch all the way until December, and she already admitted that she will be using inspiration from her spaceflight to incorporate that into her performances, both visually and quote-unquote spiritually. Alright? And I think that's going to just make things way worse for her sake and for her team's sake. You know, those like her, you know, agent, her manager, everyone else on board that's trying to really kind of keep this tour together. The US market, specific US markets I should add, are not doing so well right now. And there's a lot of reasons why, alright? It's not just limited to the space flight, mind you, let's be very real about that, but it does go beyond that, alright? People are just kind of tired of Katy Perry's nonsense. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about everything ranging from the Katy Perry drama and Backlash to her Lifetimes tour, and just how out of whack it really is at this point in 2025. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.